A lot of salespeople, they strive to become what we all call trusted advisors. And the only way to do that is to be an authentic human being. And as an extension of that, if you truly do believe that your product or service is probably not going to be the best fit, at least compared to some other solutions in the space, you should have no qualms in telling somebody that.
Today I have Matt from Sales Assembly. He is a CRO in the interesting job where he is selling to sales leaders in order to have their team trained and prepared for getting better at their craft. Very excited about the discussion today with Matt. Very happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
What got you into sales?
Honestly, it's the only thing that I was good at. I studied criminal justice in college. I wanted to go into the FBI. When I graduated, that was the master plan. And the day I graduated, I woke up and I said, I don't really want to do this anymore. So with no clear path in life, I'd realized that I'd never worked a job that wasn't in some way, shape, or form tied to commission. So sales as a career just occurred naturally to me.
And what do you think made that connection? What made you so attracted to sales?
To be perfectly honest, I don't know if in the beginning it was a intentional attraction to sales. It was because I couldn't really think of any other opportunities. I think that there are a lot of salespeople that find themselves in sales accidentally, right? And I have no qualms in saying that I count myself among one of those people.
What were the top qualities that you think took you to an extent in your career?
I like to think that empathy is first and foremost. In order to be a salesperson in general, you have to have a significant degree of empathy in order to not only interact with but build and maintain relationships with clients. And going a step further, I think a level of authenticity as well is going to be important, especially as you move up the ranks, so to speak, into a leadership role.
When you talk about empathy, I think many people understand many things by it. There's a level of getting yourself in somebody's shoes to understand what they're going through. And that part of it might be close to mentalizing. And then some people might take this empathy to the extreme and feel it themselves. And then if you're like a high empath, that goes into maybe a wrong direction. How do you see empathy? How would you define it?
Yeah, I would define it as, and I think you spoke to it a moment ago, really just being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And by doing so, just get a really comprehensive understanding of their needs, their desires, and more importantly, how you as a person, and by extension in your career, the product or service that you're selling, could potentially be of value to them.
And authenticity, is that a combination of radical candor and just not having things that you have in the closet, or what is it that you call authenticity?
Yeah, I think that radical candor is, I would agree that is just, as the name implies, sort of a radical form of authenticity. But I think that authenticity, taking a step back in general, just being honest and forthright, not only in the leadership capacity, but also, again, when interacting with clients or prospects. A stereotypical example that people often use is a lot of salespeople, they strive to become what we all call trusted advisors. And the only way to do that is to be an authentic human being. And as an extension of that, if you truly do believe that your product or service is probably not going to be the best fit, at least compared to some other solutions in the space, you should have no qualms in telling somebody that. That's really what I think about authenticity and how valuable it could be to salespeople, because I think that humans, by and large, people that you're interacting with, they tend to be pretty intuitive. Their guard is up whenever they're dealing with a salesperson in general. So providing or just having that level of authenticity, I think, goes a long way towards breaking down barriers as far as just building trust between you and a client, prospect, or if you're in a leadership position, somebody that happens to be a member of your team.
You're a CRO at Sales Assembly now. who does Sales Assembly sell to, and why do people buy it, and what do they get out of it?
Yeah, so Sales Assembly, we sell to B2B software companies, specifically the heads of sales and or the enablement leaders of B2B software companies. We have around 200 or so of these companies that we work with today. Why do they buy Sales Assembly? It is because what we provide is a really comprehensive learning and development platform for the go-to-market teams. We provide all the day-to-day skill development, training, and education for not only their sales teams, but customer success, account management, marketing, enablement, ops, everything from entry-level BDR, SDR, all the way up to VP and C-level leadership of these respective business units, providing all that day-to-day competency and skill development so that those organizations don't have to expend the time, bandwidth, resources to provide that type of training.
What, on your platform, what's the most impactful program right now?
We have certification programs that are built out for 15 different roles up and down the go-to-market team. These are programs that are built specifically to transition people from one role to another. And our most impactful and most popular by far is what we call our new sales leader certification program, which, as the name implies, is built specifically to take people that have no demonstrated leadership experience and move them into a frontline leadership role and teach them, all of the things that you and I, when we think back throughout our career, right now we probably know how to do an effective one-on-one. We know how to put somebody on a performance improvement plan in an appropriate manner, which is something that we probably had to do at one point or another throughout our career. We know how to vet for culture fit when we're looking at candidates to our team. Newly promoted sales leaders, no one ever sits them down and teaches them this kind of stuff. It's kind of learned by doing and by osmosis. So we built a program that's built specifically, again, to transition people into their first leadership role, giving them the competencies that they need to be an effective frontline leader.
And back to this idea of what it takes to be a great salesperson, what do you think takes to be a great sales manager?
Oh, wow. That's a big question. I hate to repeat myself. I'd say authenticity again, empathy again, not too dissimilar from what makes a great salesperson. I would say you really have to be adept at effective communication, right? Not just only the style and the substance of your communication, but also the frequency of it. I think that really dialing in on that's where a lot of sales leaders, especially new sales leaders, fail, is not focusing up on when, how, and how often they communicate to folks on their team that they're charged with leading.
And on this idea of mistakes, what do you see some what mistakes do you see some salespeople make that you wish they wouldn't?
Mistakes that salespeople make that I wish that they wouldn't. I would say not investing enough time doing research, and not just at the very front end when you're looking at generating or qualifying net new opportunities, but with the amount of information that's available these days. I'll put it this way: if you're selling into publicly traded companies, there's no excuse whatsoever to not pull up a company's most recent K1, their SEC filing, and dig through the board minutes, and just to really get a good understanding of what is a priority, because those companies in those reports, they will tell you, hey, here are our organization's priorities. Here's where we're planning on making investments over the next quarter, let's say. Not taking the additional extra time and doing that type of research, especially when those resources are readily available to you, in my opinion, there's really no excuse for that.
What training or problem solving are in high demand for an account executive, for instance?
Two specifically jump to mind. Storytelling is one that's in really high demand right now. And also, to the point made a few moments ago, being able to sell or quantify your value directly to CFOs, right? And sort of an extension of that multi-threading within accounts. Developing those competencies are in extremely high demand right now.
How does that, I would imagine that you have very differently for AMs, or is it similar?
Yeah, we have actually different, clearly defined learning paths built out for every role up and down the go-to-market teams. So account executives with less than 3 years of experience compared to account executives with 7+ years of experience. Account managers, quota carrying, non-quota carrying, customer success managers, et cetera. Long-winded way of saying yes, so we have very different learning paths and training programs built out for the different roles up and down the go-to-market team.
And what are the more high demand for SDRs?
SDRs, yeah, a lot of it is social selling, as you can imagine. I know that's been a hot topic for the past 1.5 to 2 years. I mean, of course, depending on the buyer that these companies sell to, but as the effectiveness of some of the traditional techniques of cold calling, cold emailing, as those continue to decrease, SDRs and SDR teams, they tend to look for much more creative solutions, and social selling seems to be something that a lot of folks, especially coming out of school, that are these newly hired SDRs, don't really have a whole lot of experience or competence with.
And it's mostly LinkedIn, or you go to other avenues?
Yeah, mostly LinkedIn. We do see a lot of, again, depending on the buyer that they're selling to, do see a lot of folks leveraging TikTok.
What about CS? Do you do training for CS as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say next to salespeople and frontline sales leaders, CS and CS leaders is probably a very close second, just as far as the pure quantity of training sessions we provide to them, because there's a really big need for CS upskilling across the ecosystem.
And what specifically are CS, what kind of skills do they want to upskill?
Big one right now is, how do you quantify the ROI of your product? Whether you are looking for upsell, cross-sell opportunities, or just trying to secure the renewal. Many companies, understandably, and to be clear, sales assembly as an organization, we haven't been immune to this. Throughout 2022 or 2021, it was easy for us and many other organizations to look at just the usage of the product and directly correlate that to ROI. That doesn't fly in this day and age. You really have to make a concerted business case for, here's why our product or service is worthy of a continued investment. So it's a lot of training around, okay, how do you clearly quantify the ROI of the product service that you're selling above and beyond just, hey, your team gets good use out of it.
I really love what you said at the beginning, that one of the top skills for a salesperson is empathy. And it's very top of mind for me. I keep debating it into my head, because I observe that the better I get at it, the better my conversion rates get on calls. What do you think is the best path to deepen that skill set?
I think this kind of ties into the whole nature versus nurture debate. I think that to a significant extent, I would bet I might be wrong. Probably am. I'm wrong on most things. Having a significant degree of empathy might be something that you're born with. It's just the way that you're wired, right? I think that you can tell when looking at children or young adults, how empathetic they are. You could probably draw a straight line into, how empathetic, they end up being when they become adults. But I think that if you were interested in actually training that muscle, so to speak, and developing that skill, I'm sure that outside of, there's got to be countless books and resources that one could be exposed to. As weird as it might sound, one mode of training up that muscle could be getting into something like improv training, which I know can be big for salespeople in general, because what is the root of what makes a successful improv skit, or whatever you want to call it? It is just listening, right? It's active listening. It's trying to put yourself into another person's shoes. It's a form of play act.